I'm Jordana Sobey, and I'm here today with my very special mom, Dr. Bilha Chesner, who has been working for the last 4 years on this book that she just published called Invincible Women: Conversations with 21 Inspiring and Successful American Immigrants. Mom, can you tell me more about this book?
Sure. So I'm telling the life story of 21 American immigrants, refugees or immigrants, that came to this country. They struggled and they succeeded. They contribute to this country and to the world in art and in science, human rights and philanthropy. And I hope that those stories will inspire young women to succeed and to reach their dreams.
Now, you wrote in this book that conflicting forces caused you to write this book. What were those conflicting forces?
Well, you know, what stimulates me to write this book is several things. The rising voice of Me Too, the universal bondage of sisterhood. But mostly, I told the stories of these powerful women in order to refute stuffing the immigrants into one face, no matter where they came from, no matter what stage of citizenship they were. I wanted for young women to be inspired by those stories, and I was extremely hurt, just like many other Americans, by the way of the treatment of the DACA generation, where those young kids came to this country and of no fault of their own, they live in fear to be deported to a place they never lived or knew. They're also concerned about the deportation of their parents. And we all know, we all heard about what's happening in the southern border of the United States, where children are being separated from their parents. And the thing is that my life in some ways mirrors theirs, because I'm an Israeli American immigrant, and so though this subject is close to my heart. The conflicting aspect of it is that I do care about the security of the United States. I do think that we should have, however, so-called ways of handling the situation and being able not to discriminate and stuff all of them into one group.
I really like what you said about immigrants not just having one face as being a reason to write this book, because you now have 21 different stories, and the media often portrays, this face of an immigrant, someone maybe that's a refugee, doesn't have shoes on, going over the border, dirty, and this is really portraying successful stories, which is so important since this whole country is a country of immigrants. Now,
but you know what is really interesting, sorry to interrupt you, but what's really interesting, I chose those women as the ones that have succeeded. But with the pandemic that is going on right now, every immigrant that I have met and that we have met through this disaster, we have learned to respect and to empathize with, and have tremendous gratitude to them. So it's not only those who have succeeded to change the world, but also those that change our life.
Mm-hmm. Now, you found these 21 women through so many different ways. Can you talk a little bit about how you came to choose these different women?
It's really interesting. One thing I must tell you, that when I interacted with these women, they all said yes right away to be a part of this book, because they all felt that their stories is inspiring, and if it could possibly encourage young women that are being discriminated against today and have it difficult, and they feel they do not belong, that they will understand that there is a future for them. I met this woman in several ways. Some of the women are a part of my life journey, like Jacqueline Morekatet, who is a Rwandan American immigrant who have seen her entire family slaughtered. She came here as a teenager her uncle brought her to the United States. She excelled in studies, and through the programs that my Women's Center community service that I had in Long Island provided, I've honored teenagers that excel once a year. Actually, my daughters ran this program, which was called the Unbeaten Path. When I wrote this book, I looked for her and I found her, and I was tremendously gratified to know that she has graduated from law school, and then she's now the president of the Society to establish hospitals with schools in Rwanda to rehabilitate Rwanda. I also met some of them through the New York Times, like Nergis Mavalvala, who is an astrophysicist. What's interesting about her, she's a Pakistani American, and she is a professor at MIT and dedicated her life to the legal observatory. And it so happened that the gravitational wave have been detected by her observatory, and she became world famous as a result of that. Those are the gravitational wave are a result of a collision of the black holes, which substantiated Einstein's theory that they existed and bring us closest to the theory of the Big Bang.
It's so interesting. There's so many different people in this book, not just from different countries, but from different backgrounds, that while reading it, it's not only a lesson in the culture of all these different people, but also you get a little tidbit into different professions. Can you tell me a little bit about your interview with Isabel Allende?
Well, she does not need an introduction. Isabel Allende, she is a giant in literature. She's a Chilean American. She's a refugee at the time of the revolution in Chile. Her father actually was a doctor of Peron, and she escaped to Venezuela, and then following the love of her life at the time, she came to the United States. She became American. The story tells about her struggles as a woman and as an immigrant, and her protagonists in her books are women that are immigrants that are seeking for freedom. Some of her books have become movies, and she made a point of every December to write a new book. She
Wow.
also has a foundation for immigrant women and their children.
Wow. Can you also tell me a little bit about Dr. Wafa El-Sadr?
Well, obviously, you know, being in the profession, I have admired Dr. Wafa El-Sadr, who is an infectious disease specialist. She is the president of the Melman School of Public Health in Columbia University. She is Egyptian American, and she has seen her first AIDS patient in Harlem Hospital in 1980. 15 years later, the medication came about, and at that time, she has adapted her method of inclusive way of treating AIDS, having the family a part of the entire situation, because there was a stigma associated with AIDS, and she was able to have the family get over the shame and be a part of the recovery. And so she adopted these kind of programs in the sub-Sahara Africa and saved hundreds of thousands of lives establishing this IPAC program.
Now, me having known you my whole life, I can see how you'd be drawn to this woman particularly because of your own experience. I remember when you founded Pathways, it was really, a lot of it was to have educational and information series for women going through breast cancer so that they wouldn't feel ashamed to talk about it. So there's some parallels there that seem really relevant. Can you tell me a little bit about how your own experience as an immigrant aligned with these women?
Well, you know, as you know, I'm an Israeli-American immigrant. I left Israel after the army, and I couldn't get into a medical school in Israel. They had only one school, and they only took four girls at the time. So I went to Italy, to Bologna, the oldest medical school in the world. I've had a wonderful experience for 6 years, but it wasn't easy. You know, I had to translate my medical books from Italian to English, and my English wasn't great either. So in any case, I got through. I actually did well. 6 years of studying and a wonderful experience. Then I came to the United States. I was an immigrant again. And here, the methods of practicing medicine is very different. I had to take my exams again. I had to adjust to the new language and the culture, and I experienced the sleepless night that every medical student or resident goes through. But I had a goal, and I had grit, and I was able to make it. And I was also very lucky to be tutoring in various STEAM hospitals, like special surgery and New York Hospital. I then felt strong enough to open my own practice, and it was a big risk. I had to put my house as a collateral, but I was able to make it, and later on I've developed this women's center, which was a community service to the community that supported me. And I had all kind of programs through this. So the radiology practice was interdisciplinary radiology with MRIs and CAT scan and so on. But the Women's Center had programs to the community to teach women to be proactive about their health. And so we also had, as I mentioned before, programs to teenagers, and I had programs for women afflicted with cancer, as you mentioned.
Now you've worked with, you mentioned that it had a program for teenagers. I know there's obviously, to be one of these 21 successful women, a teenager isn't quite old enough to have proven themselves in the world, but it does seem like you have a huge range of ages, and you even have one person in this book that's 93 now. Can you tell me about that person?
She is I shouldn't say she's my favorite, because I don't
Her
want
name's
to
Olga Murray.
Olga Murray is a Transylvanian American. She is a fantastic woman. She's 93 years old. She is a Transylvanian American who, at the age of 6, came with her parents as a Holocaust survivors to the United States, and she went on to law school. She imagined how difficult it was for a woman at that time to be a part of a law firm. And in fact, she wasn't a part of a law firm, but she worked with lawyers, and it was a very significant time for her, as she mentioned. Then at the age of 60, she decided to take a trip to Nepal. And she fell in love with the children who were running around with no clothes, actually, but they had a wonderful smile in their face, and she decided this is going to be what she's going to do in her life. She's going to give, and she's going to give that way. She's going to improve the life of these children in Nepal. So she started a foundation. She spent 6 months in California and 6 months in Nepal. And she has actually saved 2,000 young women from servitude. And it's really funny, the story. You're going to have to read it in my book, but it is she convinced the parents that for a piglet, they take their daughter back from servitude. And that practice was annulled as a result of her. And she still goes, and she still does it.
Wow.
And she's actually recommended to me by Isabel Allende, because Isabel said, you like my story, you have to meet Olga Murray.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, other than learning about each of these journeys and women and professions and cultures by reading this book, what do you hope the readers take away from the book?
Well, first of all, as I mentioned, and it's very important, the mission of the book is for women that feel that they do not belong, because of the time we live in. There is a lot of hostility to immigrants, not only in America, but in the world. And no matter what the conflicting ideas about immigrants, that some of them citizens feel that they're taking their jobs, maybe they are criminals and so on. Those, as I said, stuff those immigrants into one group. And so I believe that reading those stories is going to inspire those women that to reach their goals. I also hope that with stories, the American people and the citizens of the world will have gratitude. As Isabel Allende said, there is room in the elevator. And if you look to the right or to the left, you may find a reflection of yourself. I think that the pandemic is an incredible situation where those immigrants have proven themselves working in hospitals, delivering our mail, delivering food, risking their life for us to have a comfortable situation here and not to get the disease.
Well, that is a lot to take in, and I'm so glad that you wrote this book. I think it's has so many important messages. So again, this book is Invincible Women, Conversations with 21 Inspiring and Successful American Immigrants. You have a website where you can find out where it is.
InvincibleWomenBook.com.
Okay, so go to that website, invinciblewomenbook.com, and you can click on various links to buy the book, whether it be Kindle, hard copy, or paperback. Thank you, Mama.
Thank you so much, my sweet.